Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Bud's Hot Sports Takes. I am Bud. Going to be doing something a little bit different, today. Uh, Normally I do like a little bitty write up, try to go from it. We're not. We're going to be reviewing, some of what happened last night from UFC 303. One of the things that we will also be doing is there was a pioneer of the sport who called it a career last night, and that's going to be the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about that. Um, I feel like anybody that's given as much time, a 17-year career, they deserve that little farewell, right? Um, and then if they and to top it off, being a true pioneer of their sport um, you know, deserves recognition, right? So, for those of you who may know or may not know, but Michelle Waterson Gomez, also you may have heard the phrase or name the Karate Hottie. That was her moniker, right? Uh, and she had a 17-year career. Started in 2007. Um, you know, MMA it's still a very young sport. Even younger so, of course, for female fighters. She was a true pioneer of this sport. Obviously, fighters and competitors, they want to go out on top. They want to go out with a win. She lost last night. In a hard fight. I'm sure that has to make the calling of a career even harder to take. But hats off, to her. She had a great career. I doubt she'll see this, but if you do, Michelle Larson Gomez, it's been a pleasure, as a fan to watch you fight. Um, so thank you for the time that you spent. Thanks for always putting on a show. Um, she's one of the most skilled competitors, to play the game. She was technical everywhere. So it was a pleasure, as a fan, to watch. Also, hats off to the UFC. They did something. Obviously, anytime, uh, a fighter calls it a career, they do the right thing. If they call it a career, inside the cage, right? They get their little interview moment, whether they won or lost. The winners, of course, always get to talk to, the announcer. A lot of times that's Joe Rogan or Daniel Cormier, and so they did that, but they also did something that they don't usually do, and that's they done a highlight career thing for showed the highlights of her career. She called it a career, and hats off to him. Done the right thing there. Um, so obviously, as I said, she had lost that fight. So obviously, decision there, went to Jillian Robertson. Uh, but awesome UFC to give Michelle Larson Gomez that spotlight after the fight of the interview and the highlight reel. That was really cool highlight reel thing to do. Uh, Obviously, me, I got a little emotional watching the highlight reel, right? And understandably so. She was emotional, from it. That's it was tough, right? So, but awesome. So a little breakdown what happened. Raj Asura, he maintains, is unbeaten. He went from 9-0 to 10-0. Andre Arlovsky, he did lose. I suspected Martin Bidet. If you remember from the last video, I predicted that he would win and win by knockout. In the first, it went 3 rounds. So he got it by decision. Um, and it was kind of a lackluster fight, to be honest. Peyton Talbot won it in a by KO. It was one of them flash knockouts, won in 19 seconds. So put him away real quick and early. Gene Silva, he beat Charles Jourdain last night by KO. And if you watch that fight, like you saw that knockout coming a mile away. It was early in the second round when he knocked him out, and that was like the fourth time that he knocked him down in the fight. So it was pretty clear, who was winning that fight. Cub Swanson, Andre Fili, their fight. Like I said, I wasn't sure who was going to win. I was pushing for Cub. Thought he would win. I gave the slight edge to him. But I said it was going to be a really good fight for the most part. It didn't disappoint there. There was plenty of action there. It was a really good fight, some back and forth. I felt Andre Fili won the first. Felt felt anyone really could have won the second round. You could have argued either way. Felt Cub did a little bit more, but the better, more stronger strikes, came from Philly, and he did have the takedown, so felt like you could have really argued either way there. And then the third round, well, it was definitely Cub Swanson's. And then, Andre Fili, he won via split decision. So, like I said, you could have made a case for either guy. So, definitely anytime you got one where you can, where there was action and you can actually make a true case for either guy, that's a good fight. So, I felt like it was a pretty good fight. The Joe Pyfer versus Mark Andre Barriault. Joe Pyfer, he won. Won in the first round by knockout. I actually missed that fight, unfortunately, so I didn't get to see it. But obviously, round one KO. Pretty sure, boom, 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 it was over, right? Yeah, that was all she wrote. Definitely that's a dominant win. Now, Ian Machado Gary, he did beat Michael Venom Page. Like I said, I wasn't sure how that fight was going to go, but I felt Michael Page had the edge. And, through the striking of the fight, you could definitely see Michael Page, as I thought, definitely the better striker. He outclassed, Ian Gary as far as striking goes. It's facts. But Ian Gary, he did spend his time working on his ground game, with Charles Oliveira, and when it went to the ground, obviously, huge difference between who was more skilled in the ground. Michael Page, he was doing all the wrong things. I mean, he didn't get submitted, so he did that right? But the way he was turning, he was turning into things, instead of out or away. He was not putting pressure on the heel, with the body triangle. So he was doing everything incorrectly as far as the ground goes, not what you want to do. So his lack of knowledge there definitely showed. Ian Machado Gary, he won. So, hats off to him. And he's very egomatic, so I doubt he'll agree with me. And oh no, I definitely got the better of the strike, dude. No, you didn't. He got outclassed on the striking part of the fight. Is what it is, man. But congrats to your man. Macy Chiasson knocked out Myra Bueno Silva, in the second round, minute 58. So, she got the win there. Uh, Roman Leeds, decision victory over Anthony Smith. The co-main. Personally, I hated it because as far as like DraftKings go, right? And you guys heard it. I had picked Ortega to win it. I had Ortega as in DraftKings as well. For for that. What really was terrible was like I picked for like the fights I had selected, like I had them all right. That I had picked, on their site. But I had Brian Ortega. Since Ortega pulled out during the fight, well, not during the fight, but since he pulled out during the competition, since the competition already started, DraftKings does not let you reselect. So, uh, since they don't do that, that automatically scored 0 points for me, for that fight. So, sucked for me. However, then Ige stepped up, with a 3 hour notice. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll step in there with him. So he fought Diego Lopez. So hats off to him for doing that, right? And then, hats off to Diego Lopez too, because he didn't have to say, okay, yeah, I'll fight him, just because Dan Ige is willing to step in and fight doesn't mean Lopez has to accept it, right? So, hats off to both those guys. Hats off Ige, which literally, uh, it was a no lose situation. He lost the fight. He lost via decision, and the decision went the right way. Um, he was outdone, outclassed the first 2 rounds, and then man, he poured it on, and that it was a dominant, third round for Ige. Um, not like dominant as in like, okay, maybe it should be a draw because that was a 10-8. No, not like that. But it was a dominant performance. It was clear who the winner of that round was, right? Um, it was the most significant round of the 3 round fight. Um, and like I said, Diego Lopez outclassed him, the first 2 rounds. So yeah, that says something, right? Just wasn't a 10-8 type of outclass on the third. Now, but yeah, he had nothing to lose as far as going in, because you going in with 3 hour notice. If you win, boom, your stock rose, right? But if you lose, you're going in 3 hour notice. Nobody's going to hold that against you, no matter what type of performance you put on. Um, then you got there and you performed, right? So hats off to you, right? That also makes your stock rise. Uh, and then consequently, hats off to Diego Lopez, because he was in a lose-lose situation. You go out there, you win, you put on a good performance, but okay, you had a full training camp. This guy come in 3 hour notice. You're supposed to win that, right? And then if he loses, oh my gosh, how could you lose that, right? So, you know, hats off to him, right? Because he was in a no-win situation, even though he won the fight. Um, so, it turned out the best way imaginable. Both guys, got some highlight moments, uh, and both guys stepped up and were there to fight. So, it was good for the fans, good for those guys. Turned out the best way possible, I suppose. Um, and it was an enjoyable fight to watch. Now, the main event, Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochaska. Like I said, didn't see it going any other way than the first one, which was Alex Pereira just showing like, dude, you're a striker, I'm a striker. There's a vast difference between a multi-division international kickboxing champion and a country Muay Thai champion, and that country not even being where Muay Thai's from, not even a Thailand, champion, right? and boom. And then like it was like really weird too because there was like about like 7 or 8 moments in the first round where I was like, man, like that head kick is wide open. Like I see it. How does Pereira not see it? Like boom, like it was a perfect dude. It's right there. It's open. It's open. And then boom, he drops him right there at the end of the first, right? And then they're in the corner. Yuri Prochaska is like, no, I'm fine, man. I can go back out there. I'm good. Soon as the as soon as the second round starts, bam, head kick, it's all over. Boom. Like it says, like, as far as the records go, 13 seconds into the second round. But really it was like 3 seconds into the second round, just took an extra 10 seconds for the ref to stop it. But it was over at that point. He was like, I mean, it was weird too because the way he dropped in the first too, I was like, man, talk about being saved by the buzzer, right? Because like that fight would have been 4 or 5 seconds longer. Like that fight's over. Then apparently he wasn't safe because as soon as the second round, bam, out, over with, done. And it's a beautiful head kick too. I think Alex Pereira. I think he actually even broke his toe. On the, on the head kick. Yeah, so that was it was nice. It was spectacular. It was smooth. It was clean. It was crisp. So awesome. And overall, it was a good night of fights. If you didn't tune in, you should have. Uh, One of the things I've been down about, as far as MMA goes, is it's been so watered down over the last few years. It's been hard to actually get a good card or one where there's been a lot of good competitive fights. And it was actually a nice night of fights. So have you missed it? I'm sorry. Tune in for the next one. All right. Well, again, thank you for tuning in to Butts Hot Sports Takes. Feel free to, like, share, comment below. Still waiting for you guys to comment. Feel free to, make those comments. I will respond back. That's a guarantee. I'll respond back. Also, like I said, your comment might make the next video. But again, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and thank you. And I'll see you next time about Hot Sports Takes. Thank you.